8 members of Antifa were arrested at a counter-protest that a religious group, a church group, was basically having an outdoor church service outside of Seattle City Hall, protesting that Mayor Bruce Harrell should resign and or apologize for what happened at Calenderson Park at the Chaz Park on Saturday, where 23 members of Antifa were arrested in a violent confrontation that they caused. But then Mayor Bruce Harrell said the church group caused it. We've got the upside down happening in Seattle, and Dan Bongino is going to investigate. Lots going on. Let's get into it. Here we go. So I was at last night's Rattle in Seattle. That was the event where Antifa was protesting fascism, because people who go to church are fascists, apparently. Here's some of that footage. Here's the first couple of minutes of footage. Stinky. Very stinky. You can imagine. So one of the arrests happening right there in the back. Just a bunch of lunatics running around. Check this one out. This woman, let's see if I can get. This woman right here holding the sign. She goes into this rage. She's having a meltdown. Local Fox crew. Imagine doing this for like 3 hours. Walking around with a GoPro. Yeah, that was me. Oof. Tired.
Record.
Just nonsense. Just nonsense. So this is at City Hall. Make this make sense. This is at City Hall. The religious group has a big concert going. During this time, they're probably speaking. We couldn't hear them outside, but we're outside. The cops keep everybody outside that is a counter-protester. It's kind of this makeup call for what happened at Calenderson Park on Saturday when 23 people got arrested because they violently attacked a church group that their slogan is #hands off our kids. And that's fair, right? And don't be messing with the kids. Just absolute insanity. But what would happen is that these people just get really worked up, go after somebody. The cops would come out and just take somebody down and then go arrest them. I mean, it was just, why are we having an event at City Hall protesting the mayor? And the whole thing is just it's so convoluted. Trans flag. Another arrest going on. Uh-oh. Got to back off. They're coming out. Coming off the sidewalk.
You pigs! Fuck you! You pigs! Fuck you, pigs!
That's all you need to know right there, folks.
Fuck you, pigs! Fuck you, pigs!
F you pigs. F you pigs. Horrific. That is literally all you need to know. Those people are so backwards. It's crazy. They think that they're so progressive and they've got everything going. And you end up at one of those things and you're like, these people are twisted. They're delusional. I mean, what other thing? You want to be understanding of somebody else's beliefs. But unfortunately, where the disconnect happens is they're playing make-believe. And this is a whole bunch of dudes pretending to be girls. There's no girls pretending to be dudes. Why is that? What's that all about? So there's this big back and forth with this whole deal. Let's read about it. A religious group protested outside City Hall on Tuesday, that was last night, following a weekend of unrest at Calenderson Park. Oh, by the way, should be able to watch the whole 17-minute of footage that I shot from that event. It should be on YouTube on our channel. The group spoke out against what they describe as religious bigotry, specifically targeting comments made by Mayor Bruce Harrell. Bruce Harrell was just saying some stuff that didn't make any sense. Like this church group was inciting violence. Freedom of religious thought, speech? I don't know. It's a thing. Dan Bongino thinks too. Protest comes after a clash at the park on Saturday where I'm going to cut my audio here in case something else decides to play. The came after a clash at the park on Saturday where 23 protesters, stinky Antifa protesters, were arrested. And I say stinky because whenever I go to these rallies, I end up smelling like weed and I end up smelling like, I don't know, Swisher Sweet and body odor and not mine. You know what I mean? Just like, get me home, get me a shower. The incident began when LGBTQ protesters, are we not doing the plus anymore? What's up with that? Where's the plus? So confusing. It's so hard to keep up with all this. The incident began when LGBTQ protesters attempted to disrupt a rally held by Christian pro-life group Mayday USA. They're from Spokane. Situation escalated, prompting Seattle police to call for assistance from the Washington State Patrol. We're talking about Saturday. They needed reinforcements. Some of the protesters who were arrested, all accused of assaulting police officers, have since been released. Okay, so what I want you to focus on from that statement, all accused of assaulting police officers, you will see a ton of stuff in the media about how these people were just exercising their freedom of speech, their First Amendment rights to freedom of speech, and that is not correct. Antifa invariably punches somebody, gets in a scuffle with cops, and guess what happens when that happens? The police arrest them. This is basic stuff. But if you listen to Antifa, you would think that the whole world is just piling on them. It's not. One of the conversations I had was with a young woman, I guess, and she was saying that the trans community is losing their rights. Like her friend couldn't get a passport. And I was kind of thinking, no, you can get a passport, but you get a passport with your biological sex on it. So that is a passport, and that is the accurate version of biologically what you were born as. Whether you identify as a woman later in life doesn't really matter there, because we have to kind of measure who's what, when, and where. And pretending doesn't really count. But at these rallies, it does. 8 people were arrested last night for assault in the First Amendment event outside of City Hall, according to the Seattle Police Department. The cops were all over it. They were all over it. It was great to see. After going through the whole Chaz thing where, police had to give up their own precinct. They gave up their own precinct. How ridiculous is that? That's the nice word I'm going to use. As the event comes to an end, there may be people wandering across the roads in the surrounding neighborhood, wrote the Seattle Police Department on X at 7:42 p.m. I was there to the bitter end. and they were trying to harass the churchgoers as they left. Oh, they went after people. Nasty, nasty violence. Going after these people who are literally having a prayer service and a worship service. The dichotomy was, and you can hear it in my video, you got this nice background church music. Sometimes it was pretty loud. At one point, I thought, U2 was going to break out. It sounded kind of like that, upbeat, contemporary. And then you've got all this angry shouting and screaming and F the pigs, just a bunch of nonsense rhetoric. So you got this kind of dual thing going on. You've literally got what I view as God on the inside, Satan on the outside. And there was literally a guy, and I think I've got a clip of it in my footage in that video, of a guy who said, I'll see you where I'm heading, meaning hell. And, he had pentagrams on there, upside inverted pentagram. So literally you've got God with the church group on the inside, and then you've got Satanists, Antifa, out on the streets. I mean, it was literally black and white. Two opposing groups gathered along 4th Avenue, wrote the Seattle Police Department in a media release. Streets around the dueling demonstrations were shut down for several hours. I Ubered in because I don't want to have my car stuck there in case something goes sideways. Plus, I don't want to have my car broken into because, Antifa. Como News senior reporter Chris Daniels contacted Mayor Bruce Harrell's office for a statement, which can be read below. Here you go. Mayor Harrell will continue to lead our city's fight against bigotry. I don't believe expressing religious beliefs is bigotry. I don't think it is. But, go ahead, Mayor Bruce Harrell, and just keep supporting that less than 1% of the voting population that you're digging your own political grave with. And unfairness, what was unfair about the Christian group going and talking about their beliefs? What was unfair about that? I missed that part. And stand for Seattle's values of inclusion. Last night's event out on the street where I was with Antifa, Transtifa, was the least inclusive event ever. They always are. Unless you believe exactly what they believe, they're going to drop the hammer on you. Not all of them, not the nice young woman that I talk to, they're not all like that. But 99 out of 100 are. They're just, they're brutal people. They're Seattle's values of inclusion, welcoming, and justice. Well, if inclusion, welcoming, and justice were exemplified by Transtifa last night outside of City Hall, I didn't see any of those virtues. I saw none of those. I saw anger. I saw intimidation. I saw people, getting into it with the cops. And I'm a hard no-go on getting into it with the cops. That's just, we have public safety for a reason. And when you violate public safety, your ass should be drugged to jail. Just, let them cool jets for a couple of weeks in there. Let Bubba, make friends. We will not be intimidated by the kind of fear-mongering or divisiveness, talking about the churchgoers. Fear-mongering or divisiveness inspired by the rally and extreme rhetoric endorsed by Matt Shea. He's talking about the Bible. He's talking about God. He's talking about religion. He's talking about uplifting people. He's talking about, all that church stuff. It was a church service. Extreme rhetoric. That's what Mayor Bruce Harrell is kowtowing to our Transtifa population, endorsed by Matt Shea, the pastor, and others that take aim at our residents and at Seattle's second black and first biracial mayor. Mayor's pulling the race card. Come on, Mayor Bruce Harrell, you got to do better than that. I mean, here's the poll. Should Mayor Harrell apologize to the religious group behind Saturday's parties? Yes. Let's see what happens when I vote on this. Even in Seattle, this is Como. Even in Seattle, 79-21. That's classic. Lead pastor Russell Johnson, who was behind Tuesday's rally and was present at Saturday's protest, says he expects hundreds of people from all walks of life to gather to demand an apology from the mayor. And they're going to do another one of these at Calenderson Park in August. That should be a barn burner. I'm getting tickets to that bad boy, even if I have to get them on StubHub. There's no tickets. Harrell referred to Mayday USA as a right-wing organization. since when are pastors and people who believe in religious things, when is that a right-wing organization, an extreme right-wing organization? When did that happen, right? When did that happen? Because a whole lot more people in the United States are going to be affiliated with that than the nut jobs you just saw that associate with the far left, Antifa, that intended to provoke a reaction by promoting its beliefs in the city's prominent LGBTQ neighborhood. Well, that's because that's where Seattle Parks and Recreation issued them a permit for. That's where they issued them a permit for. Both Mayday USA and the counter-protesters have criticized the city's handling of the protest. Seattle just can't get anything right. Just like, oh, we're going to do this. Oh, we're offended. Oh, we're offended. We had attempted to do the event at another place, and they rejected that and directed us to Calenderson, said Johnson. They wanted to do it down by the Pike Place Market. There's a small park down there, but it wasn't big enough for their crew. They had hundreds of people. It was a big rally. Anybody that was conservative, newscaster, podcaster, whatever in Seattle, they were in there with the church party. I was out on the street because that's kind of where I want to be. You gotta be where the action is. I've been to church. That was what's going on, and nothing wrong with church. But I want to be able to tell the story of this is what actually happened, because you are hearing from the mayor of Seattle giving a different version of reality that isn't based in reality. It's just not. Now, you might be able to contend that having a church group go into Calenderson Park you're bound to have some sparks fly. And if you're not familiar with Calenderson Park, it's the main park where Chop and Chaz happened. The East Precinct of the Seattle Police Department is just a couple of blocks away. It's literally right there. It's basically, within looking distance off the front porch of the precinct, you can see Calenderson Field. It's that close. So bringing a church group into that, this is one of the gayest, queerest areas in North America, Capitol Hill, just flat out. And so you want to have a church group there? But the bottom line is parks should be open for all religious groups. Open for the queers, open for the transvestites, open for people who are into religion that want to have a rally. Should be able to do that without Antifa coming in and just violently pummeling churchgoers. The nonprofit Alliance Defending Freedom is considering legal action against Harrell and the city, citing the city's legal obligation to protect the safety and rights of all citizens. They emphasize that the 14th Amendment guarantees people of faith equal protection, just not in Seattle. Oh, no. Yeah, you guys don't count. You guys are for God. Back of the line for you. That's literally how it feels in Seattle. Seattle is probably one of the most godless cities that I've ever visited. And I grew up here. I grew up on the east side. I've been here all my life. And Seattle has just become this absolute toilet bowl of lack of faith. It just is. And it shows. The graffiti, the acceptance of crime, just, screw anything you want, screw anybody you want, just anything goes. Lack of faith. People of faith equal protection to express their views without fear of violence or harassment. 100% true, correct. But that's not what happened. We've had 31 people from Antifa representing the trans community get arrested since Saturday, and it's only Wednesday. Could be a good week, right? Nah, there's no more rallies going on. The Rattle in Seattle rally was scheduled to take place at Seattle City Hall at 5. I rolled in at 5, and it was a going. They were loud. They had a loud sound system. Counter rally was also planned at the same location and began an hour earlier. No, I think that's incorrect. The folks got there at like 3:30 and started setting up, and they have a sound system. Those people, Mayday USA, that is a sound system. I was half a block away, and it was like, Seattle police released a traffic alert announcing that 4th Avenue between James Street and Cherry Street is closed for the event at City Hall. They closed it down so that they could control the people going in and out of the actual church rally, and they excluded basically everybody else. Anybody that wanted to get in there and do a little counter protest, it was a no-go. And it was because they had so much violence on Saturday. I mean, you've literally got violence towards a church group, and then you've got the mayor of one of, North America's most prominent cities. Say what you will. Most progressive cities. I know you can agree on that. Oh, we got progress going on here. The mayor is criticizing people from a church for expressing their church views, which they believe differently about the LGBTQ plus community. And they have a right to say that. LGBTQ plus people have a right to say what they want. But you can't exclude either group. And right now, the Christians are getting hammered on. They're just getting, the hammer dropped on them. But Dan Bongino, director of the FBI, he said he's going to do just a little bit of a look-see at what's going on there. Queer love is stronger than bigotry. Hate has no place here. Let's just look at these pictures. Okay, this is the Calenderson rally. Yeah. Their colors are like blue and pink, kind of close to the trans flag. That became a little tough. So here's the Saturday rally, right? This is before it went sideways. Here's after it goes sideways. Now, you say what you want, but these people were going ham on the Bible bashers, and the cops stepped in. That was good to see. So here's our thugs. They wear masks because they know they're going to commit violent acts, and they don't want to get caught. They all wear masks. Everybody's wearing a mask, even though there's no COVID anymore. We're wearing masks because, we want to hide our identities because we're going to get violent. We're going to really throw down here at some point. So yeah, there's some more cop footage. I love the way the cops use their bikes. They use them as barricades. They use them as weapons. And look at this guy. He needs to draw attention to himself by having red hair. I mean, what kind of man does that? I want you to get red hair. Okay. Will you love me more if I do? Okay. Some weird stuff, right? Let's send this individual to jail. Now, they're all out of jail, and most of them didn't get charged with much of anything. Maybe a misdemeanor assault of a cop. But in Seattle, that's that's nothing. Literally, that's nothing. The Trump fascist regime must go now. Well, what are we doing here? What is this shiznit here? I can't. Where's my guy? There it is. What's going on? I heard there was some lewd sex acts going on. I'm going to assume that's a dude in a miniskirt, and I'm just not going to question further. No, in the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. By fascism, and this is where I'm just going to dip out there. But yeah, Dan Bongino, he's going to look into things and see what's going on. But the whole notion of fascism, because you have a religious viewpoint and maybe you don't think man and man or woman and woman or man and trans, are what God viewed as a holy couple. Maybe if you believe that, you kind of got the right to believe that. Now, what the trans community is saying is their rights are being taken away. Hey, I can't get a passport. But that's where it breaks down because they're pretending to be a different sex. So how's that work? I can't pretend to be a different race than I am for my passport. Caucasian, I'm a white dude. I can't pretend, nope, I'm black. I can't do that, right? I mean, it's not a thing. They're not able to do that. But these people are pretending to be a different sex. So are you really losing any rights when the whole basis of your rights is predicated on pretending to be something that you're not? That's where I struggle with this whole notion of fairness, because if you want to pretend that you're a woman, that is your right to do so. But I don't believe that I have to conform to what you think. That is literally fascism, right? And so this whole notion that the churchgoers, who don't accept this, and they're also protecting kids' rights. They don't want kids to get chopped up, mutilated before, puberty. They don't want the whole blocker thing. They don't want any of that. And so the trans community is really concerned that, trans kids have rights. And there's a big, I not want to say poster, but there's a poster talking about trans kids' rights somewhere in that video that I showed you the first couple of clips on. So check that out if you care. But yeah, this has been just, what are we doing in Seattle? Well, now you know. A whole bunch of shenanigans that shouldn't be happening, but are. It's where we are. It's 2025. It's Seattle. So progressive. Oh. All right, that's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.